Fine. So we were discussing support vector machines, and as I discussed this Lagrangian multiplier, and I feel that you might be aware of this now. The only thing that is being because today I will going to use this concept in support vector machine. So just to a quick more recap and slight variant which we shall be using in this support vector machine. So I said that you just the gx that you is we have used here is this way, right? So it is always greater than 0, right? So it is always greater than 0, and when you just see the active region, so it is here. So the vector for gx is -1 -1, and the active region is actually pointed by the direction of the gradient of gx. Similarly here, if gx is greater than 0, right, and if you take a gradient, then it is 1 1, and it is nothing but it is pointing into the direction of a active region, right? If I am minimizing it, right, so if I am minimizing it, it means that my gradient is also in the same direction, right? And I want to minimize it by going to the opposite direction. So what I am here saying that my gradient and my gradient of constraint and gradient of function are in the same direction, right? Are in the same direction, right? So if they are in the same direction, it means your fx, gradient of fx is equal to gradient of gx, right? Gradient of gx, because they are in the same direction, and just to but they not be in same weight, right? So this may be greater and this may be smaller. So just to equate them, we will add some weighting factor that is known as lambda, right? So if you bring this lambda on the right hand side here, it will be lambda effect gradient of fx minus lambda of gx. It is only when this situation comes when gx is greater than 0, right? So then lambda will come here in as a negative of it, right? When gx is greater than 0. If gx is less than 0, if constraint is in this form, if gx is less than 0, then the things will the same what we have discussed in last class, and this lambda will come as a positive. So it is just to accommodate the things, nothing big deal. So remember that if both are pointing into the same direction, my gradient of gx and my gradient of function, then and when I'm minimizing it, it means if I'm minimizing it, I have to go against this. So this is where that's why I can equate them, and just because they are in the same direction, so the lambda will be just a weighting factor so that they can be equal, right? We have discussed this thing. We have discussed primal, then we said that this is the maximum margin classifier, so we are broadening these margins. So this is what margin here is. So what is this perpendicular distance from a hyperplane to the nearest point of a class, right? So these are the margins, right? So this is margin. We need to maximize this margin. So we have to orient this hyperplane such that the perpendicular distance should be maximized, right? This is what is the purpose of this support vector machine, right? This should be maximized. And then we have just to then we said that this is an equation of a hyperplane, right? We said that if everything is correctly classified, then this will always stay my tn into yn, right? Because all are perfectly classified, so it is always greater than 0, and we have discussed in last class, right? Please stop me if you are not getting any of this. Then we said what is the perpendicular distance of a hyperplane from a point x, right? So what is the perpendicular distance of x from hyperplane? So this perpendicular distance is actually, if my W is unit vector, then you plug your X into this equation and you will get the perpendicular distance. But if my W is not a unit vector, then you need to divide this Yx by W, right? And we have discussed in the equation in hyperplane lecture, right? All this. So that's why it is a perpendicular distance of a point X from a hyperplane. And just to normalize it, because we are actually calculating an absolute distance, so we are normalizing it by the norm of a W, right? Fine. Then we said that this is the perpendicular distance for every nth point, right? And then we plug the formula of Yn here, which is nothing W transpose X plus B. Then we said that what is the minimum of over all the points, right? What is over all the points? So there could be 100 points, and there this is 1 point, second point, third point. So we are taking the minimum over all points, right? And this actually, this norm of W was inside this here, right? Inside minimum. But minimum over n doesn't depend upon W. It acts as a constant. So we are bringing this W outside this minimum term, right? We are bringing this W inside a minimum term because W doesn't reflect. What intuitively it means? Can anybody tell me what intuitively it means when we are bringing W outside this minimum term? Still the things will be same. It will not affect anything. Who will tell me why bringing W outside will not affect the solution? Because I am just need to know what is the point nearest to my hyperplane. So whether W is scaled or W is absolute, still the nearest point will be the nearest point. For an example, if it is absolute, right? If I have normalized it, then let's say this is a perpendicular distance D1, this is a perpendicular distance D2, this is a perpendicular distance D3, right? If they are normalized, right? Now if it was not normalized, then everybody was multiplied, let's say, by some scaling factor alpha, right? Alpha D1, alpha D3, alpha D2. And if you take a minimum, still, given that alpha is a positive, right? Because it is a norm of W. Now norm is always positive. So this alpha D3 is still the minimum among all this alpha D1, alpha D2, alpha D3. Is this point clear to you? Why bringing W outside will not affect my solution? Can you rate yes or no for this? Very good. So because yeah, as I said clearly, that bringing W will not affect anything. Then last trick, which is very much like you should give an attention for 30 seconds, and the rest of the things will fall in line for you. So now I have brought this W outside, and see this thing very carefully. So this is a scaled distance. This is a scaled distance of a point from a hyperplane. So I need your, I just want to be interactive here. So can you just quickly say yes or not? This is a scaled distance of a point from a hyperplane, nth point. Yes, very good. So if this is a scaled point, then what I can say, I can scale it. I can scale my W such that the nearest point of my hyperplane should give me the distance equal to 1. Because I have a scaling power, right? I can scale my W such that the nearest point of the decision boundary, the nearest points to my decision boundary or hyperplane should give me the distance equal to 1. Should give me the distance equal to 1. I will take an example to make it clear to you further, but still, is this intuitively clear to you? I can scale my W such that the nearest distance of a point from a hyperplane should be equal to 1. Yes or no? Very good. Very nice. So now what I will do, I just find it out because I know what is my minimum. The moment I know my minimum, I know that this could be out of all these points, this was the minimum point, right? So this was the minimum point. So once I know the minimum of it, I can scale my W such that the perpendicular distance from this nearest point should be equal to 1. The moment I do it, when I do it, then this term will, I can erase this term, right? Because the minimum of all this equals to 1, right? Is this making sense to you now? Because my minimum distance is equals to 1, I can just remove this total term here, because min of all the points is equals to 1. Can I do that? Yes or no? Very good. So now I have this minimum term which is equal to 1 because I have intentionally done that, right? When I scaled my W, so it means the norm of W could have been scaled, right? This is also that which I have brought outside. It is not like that I have just removing this term, so it will everything will wash away. No, this W, because I'm changing my W such that the scale the things will be equal to 1. Nearest distance should be equal to 1. So I am just changing my norm, right? So that's so there is nothing that like still the things will be remain, but in some different form. Okay. Now if I see my objective function, which is this. So this is the minimum distance. This is the minimum distance which is equals to 1 from over all the points from the hyperplane. Then what I need to do, I need to maximize the margin, right? This is what I have done. If you remember, my objective function, this is the second term now I have to plug in, I have to like bring into a picture to maximize over W, right? So just to maximize over W, it means this is my new objective function. This is my new objective function subject to the constraint. And what are my constraints? That all points, all distances, perpendicular distance from a hyperplane, though they are scaled perpendicular distances, they should be always greater than or equal to 1, because you intentionally did equals to 1 for the closest point, right? So this constraint will be effective now. Yes or no? Very nice. Good. Very good. So now this is my this is my new objective function which I need to maximize, and I'm taking all this pain. Why? Okay, I might have not told you here. So this was my objective function. If I could have some techniques to solve this, then support vector machine problem could have been solved. But this is not a convex function. It is a non-convex function, and it is hard to optimize. I don't know how to do this optimization. So what people do, they try to convert this hard problem into a soft problem or like easy problem, right? So there is a concept of duality, as I told you there. So what they will be doing, they will be just converting this primal problem into a dual problem. Then dual problem will be a concave problem, as I shown you here, right? So this is what we have shown here, this dual problem. And then they will solve this dual problem, because dual problem is a convex problem. Though it is concave, but concave is nothing but negative of a convex, right? So this is all trick what we have done. So if I could have, like anybody could have solved this, then support vector machine solution is there, right? But because it is not a convex solution and it is hard to optimize, they are trying to change this objective function into some easy objective function. That's why they are taking all this pain. But still now, this is my new objective function. When they say that this is new objective function, so I am maximizing this, but it is a non-convex, right? So then what they do, they just convert this maximum into minimum problem and just minimize the inverse of W, right? So rather than maximizing 1 upon W, rather than maximizing 1 upon W, now the new problem is minimize only W, right? It is the same thing. Do you agree this? It is the same thing, that minimizing W is same thing maximizing 1 upon W. Yes or no? Very nice. So now when I just maximize it, then I can just put it maximizing W is minimizing W is nothing, minimizing norm of W square. Still it's the same thing, right? You agree? Yes or no? So minimizing norm of W is nothing, minimizing norm of W square, right? Yeah, very good. So if now it is in a quadratic form. So if it is in a quadratic form, it is a convex problem given to these constraints. So everything falls in part now. I can solve it using some quadratic optimizer, and hence I will get the solutions for this, right? Okay. So before proceeding, do you have any problem or any concern, any queries? You can let me know. I just want to hold for 10 seconds so that you can think over it and let me know. Fine. So now I want to minimize this norm, and this 2 comes here just to make things simple, right? So if you just remove this 1.5, still the solution will not be affected. It is a scaled version, right? So I hope now this, by now you are making all this sense, because when you take a different derivative of this norm of W square, this 2 will get cancelled with this 2. This is all like just to make it convenient. All these things will be added. So now I want to minimize this. This is my objective function. I want to minimize this over W, right? So you might be thinking that B has been gone now. B, there's no problem with B. Still, it will come later. We'll see. Given these constraints. So still my constraint is that a perpendicular distance, scaled perpendicular distance from a hyperplane is always greater than or equal to 1. Fine. Now what I will do, as we have discussed Lagrangian there on my first slide, what we do, we just add these constraint here in an objective function itself, right? So this is okay. This slide I have just added just to make you believe that we can scale always a perpendicular distance. For an example, this was my line, which is nothing but it is equals to x1 plus x2 equals to 3. So this was some line, right? And here my W is 1 1, right? You can see that the W is 1 1. If you give me some point 4 comma 1, right? So some 4 comma 1. So this is 4 and this is 1, some 4 comma 1. So you find out like a perpendicular distance of 4 comma 1, that is a scaled distance, because this W is not a unit vector here, right? So if you just find out a scale distance, you plug this 4 comma 1 into this equation, what you will get? 4 plus 1, 5, 5 minus 3 equals to 2. So you get a scaled perpendicular distance equals to 2. But as I told you that you can scale your W always such that you can make your W this, so you can scale your W so that perpendicular distance should be equal to 1. So what you are doing here, you can do your W as 1, 1.5, 1.5. Still your equation will be same, right? Hyperplane will not move an inch, right? By multiplying your equation by 1.5 here. So you multiply half here, and then it is 3 by 2, right? So still the equation will be same. The hyperplane will not move an inch, but my W will get scaled now, right? It is half half. Now if you put 4 comma 2 in this equation, 4 comma 2 into this equation, so this is 4, this is 2, so 2 cancel this 2, so it is 2, and this 2, this is 2, cancel this 1, 2 ones are so then it is 2 plus 3, 3 minus 3 by 2. What is that? 4 comma 1. 4 comma 2. 4 by 2. And 1 by, oh my god, not this, I just made it. It is not 2, it is 1 here, right? So 4 by 2 plus 1 by 2 minus 3 by 2, right? Minus 3 by 2. So it is nothing but 5 by 2 minus 3 by 2. 5 by 2 minus 3 by 2 is equals to 1. So is again the second example, even you can just scale your W for this Z, right? So it is somewhere here. This point is somewhere here. And you can scale your W such that this perpendicular distance equal to 1. You can scale your W, now it is 1 by square root 2, 1 by square root 2. You plug this 4 by 1 into this equation and still you get a 1, right? So this is an example that make you believe that you can scale always your W such that for any given point, you can have a scaled perpendicular distance equals to 1. If you just go through this example, it will make sense to you. Any questions so far here? Yes, no? Very good. Good. Very good. Very nice. So now I said here that I want to add these constraint into an objective function using some Lagrangian multiplier, right? So what I will do here, just to make it things, I bring this 1 on the right hand side, on the left hand side. So it will be Tn W transpose phi x plus b minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. So now what will happen? My gx is greater than or equal to 0, right? My gx is greater than or equal to 0. So this is this kind of a constant. It means when I put my lambda into when I put my lambda into gx, right? Into gx with along with my objective function, because it is greater than 0. So I put negative here, right? Just to accommodate that, because they are pointing into the same direction. Now there are so many constants. It is not only one gix, right? So there are so many constants, right? And for every constant, I need to multiply Lagrangian multiplier. So it is lambda I here. And I need, right? So it is so many. So it is lambda I gix minus lambda 1, lambda 2, g2x, right? G2x. And likewise lambda g and lambda. So rather than using lambda, I use a just to make it consistent to the book. So this is a here. So a is a Lagrangian multiplier. Then you take a negative summation over I equals to 1 to n. It is ai gix, right? So this is how it is go. So this is a, so n equals to 1 to n, right? For all Lagrangian multiplier, you know this is gx which is greater than or equal to 0, right? Because you brought this negative 1 to this side, right? You brought this 1 to this side. And this is your new objective function, right? You know the tricks how to convert into duality. To convert this Lagrangian into a dual function, you need to replace primal variables, which is w and b here. And just you need to convert your Lagrangian L in terms of a only, right? So how to put your Lagrangian in terms of only Lagrangian multiplier a. What you do, the trick is you just take this objective function, take a derivative and put it equals to 0 with respect to w and b. So when you take a derivative with respect to w, you will get and put it equals to 0, you will get the value of w this. And when you take the derivative of this Lagrangian with respect to b and put it equals to 0, you will get this. Okay, just to show you so that you should not feel some magic here. So it is very easy. So I will do this only for b. You will see for w, right? So I want to take a derivative of this Lagrangian with respect to b. So the b terms are only where. So this is a b term, which is multiplied by this Tn and which is multiplied by An, right? So how I can write it? It is nothing but it is summation An Tn into b, because b doesn't have any notation, so b is a constant. So when you take a derivative of with respect to b, you will get only this summation term here, right? Because you are taking a derivative with respect to b itself. And when you put it equals to 0, this is what you will get, right? Okay, let's do for w also so that you will not feel scared. So when you take a derivative with respect to w, this 2 will get cancelled with this 2, right? And you will get w from here. So only W term will come out of here. And from here, what you will get, the second term will be summation A N T N and this. So it is summation A N T N and this is W transpose phi n, right? Just to make it short, phi n. So when you take a derivative of every term with respect to W, you will get A N T N phi n, right? And so for every term, there are n terms, right? For every term, you will get A N T N phi n and summation. So W will get away. So hence, this is this W plus summation A N T N phi n. You put it equals to 0, right? So this is a negative here, right? So you bring this negative here. So this is not a plus here. This is a negative. This is negative here. When you put it equals to 0, this term will go on to the right hand side. And this W is on the left hand side. Any confusion here? Very good. You can respond all if you are attending a class. So it would be really good for me to note that you are actually attending it. Very nice. Cool. Good. So now when you are, so the trick was you have formed a Lagrangian, but you want to convert into a dual function. Dual function means you want to see your function in terms of A only. So what you have done, you just try to represent everything in terms of A. So what you're doing, you're putting your Lagrangian, take a derivative with respect to W and B and put it equals to 0. So the term for W is this. It means when you want to take extremum for this Lagrangian for W and B, this should be the value. What you now do, you just plug your W, this value W, back to this equation here and here. And for B, you plug these values into this equation here, right? You plug these values here and the new function will be in this term. So you just do some take a pen and copy. It is very easy. As I showed you here, they're taking derivative. It is very easy, right? Don't be like scared about all these things. Should I do it for you, or you will just make it sense for you? Can you do it on your own? Can you write yes or no for that? Can you do it for you? Right, you will try. Very nice. You will try. If it doesn't fit to like as per this PPT, then we will discuss it again. Yes, but it is very easy. As I told you that you plug these values. For an example, I can do it for this term only, right? I can do it for this term, or let's take the hard term, so that it will give you a confidence. So take this summation W and plug this here, right? So what will happen? This is my first summation. I will take it in terms of N, and this second term summation I will take it in terms of M. So to make it to differentiate it, right? So this is over N, right? Then this is AN, this is TN, right? Then this is summation, right? This is over M, just to differentiate from N to M. Then this is phi N, right? Oops, sorry. So I need to first put all the W's here, right? So this is AM, TM, and XM, right? So this is AM, TM, and this is phi M. And then this N, right? Then this N. This is phi N, right? Then Okay. So you can bring this AM, AN and TN here. Right? It will not happen. I know. I really strongly feel that you can make all this. So then what will this? You will get two summations over N and M. Right? This is N and M. Then this is A and TN. A and TN. This is AMTM. AMTM. Okay, there is a catch here. So I just, when I was plugging this W here, so this W was in transpose, right? So when I do the transpose, so this is AM is scalar, TM is scalar, but this phi should be in a transpose, right? So this is in transpose. So this will come here, phi M transpose, phi N. Phi M in transpose, phi N. Right? So this is what is this? AN, AM, TN, TM, and this is phi transpose M into phi transpose N, which is nothing but here. So you are just putting this dot vector phi transpose phi in terms of some kernel function, right? I hope this is making complete sense to you now. Can you type yes or no for this? Very good. Good. Cool. So then you do the rest of the things, and you will get this Lagrangian. And the good part of this Lagrangian is that it is now a function of a dual variable a, right, which is a concave function. You then have to maximize it, right? Still there are some constraints. All Lagrangian multipliers should be greater than or equal to 0, which we have already discussed on first slide. And this an and tn summation is equals to 0, right? So if anywhere it appears summation a and tn equals to 0, because it comes from here, right? So this is a constant there. So anytime you see the summation over a and tn over all n, it should equals to 0. So there are still two constraints, and this is your Lagrangian in a dual form. Subject to this constraint, you have to maximize it, right? There are some KKT conditions. The conditions, first condition says that your all multiplier, Lagrangian multiplier, should be greater than or equal to 0. Second constraint is, can you tell me from where it is coming? Everything falls in part, right? So I said that in beginning of this lecture that we have assumed that everything is correctly classified. So yn tn is equals to 1, right? No, greater than or equal to 1, right? So it is equal for all those which are for the nearest point, and it is, so it is equals to 1 for all those which are nearest, and the rest of the point it should be greater than, right? So it was this is from where we are getting it, right? So this is t and yn should be greater than or equal to 1. So when you bring it here on the negative side, this is the second constant which is there. The third constant is complementary slackness, which we have discussed on first slide. Either your constants are active or inactive. So just to recall those things, I will discuss this complementary slackness. If my, so see here, just this picture to make this clear. So let's say this is my decision boundary and this was the nearest point. And let's say this is some other point somewhere here, somewhere here, somewhere here, right? So what it says, either your constraints are active, right? If my constraint is active, it means I am seeing the nearest point. With respect to these nearest point, I am maximizing my margin, right? Then my constraints are active, right? It means the perpendicular distance is equal to 1, right? And other, if, and this should be equal to 1, right? It should equals to 0. So if these constraints are active, then my an value should be 0, because I have to make this equal to 0, right? If my this second term is active, it means my constants are active. Then for the terms, for the points where my constants are not active, the respective an should be 0. The respective an should be 0 where my constants are not active, right? For these n's which are not actually participating for constants, they are 0, right? If my points are near, right, or either this will be 0 or that will be 0. So I have just discussed the first part. So I have discussed the first part. So it means if this is not 0, then an is 0, right? And if this is not 0, then this is 0, right? So this is mine. That's why I said that an is 0 here and here. And the second thing is, if my an is not 0, then this should be 0, right? Then this should be 0. And when it should be 0, then when t and yn equals to 1, right? When this t and yn equals to 1 and you are talking about these points, right? So then for these points, your an is not 0, which are actually participating, right? For these an which are actually participating, this is not equal to 0. It is some positive value, right? So this positive component, this is an important condition to make some intuition out of it. So either this term is 0 or that term is 0. And what it says, that for active constants, the nearest point, which is actually also known as support vectors, my Lagrangian multiplier is non-zero for those support vectors, right? For rest of the point, it is 0. This is what it says. And just to recall you guys from where it is coming, this is coming from here. We have discussed in my first class, right? Either my constant is active. If my constant is active, right, then this gx will be equals to 0, because my gx was greater than or equal to 0. So it means my gx is equal actually on the boundary line, right? If it is on the boundary line, it means equality constant satisfies. Then my gx is equals to 0. Then my gx equals to 0 when my constants are active. And if my constants are not active, then my lambda is 0, right? When my lambda is 0, it means my constant, I don't have to play into this, and then this second term will go wash away. It will not be appearing. As don't have any constant, I'm minimizing my function itself without any constants. So that's why we have this completely singleness. Either one of them must be 0 when this condition holds, right? So this is all what we have just discussed here. So it says that only for those points where my an is not 0 is actually active, and rest of the points which are beyond this perpendicular distance, scaled perpendicular distance, which is equal to 1, these points are not actively playing any role. These points here, right, and these points here, they are not playing any role. So you can put the Lagrangian multiplier equals to 0 for these points. And for these points which are known as support vector, the Lagrangian multiplier will be greater than 0. Right? So I hope this is making sense to you guys. Yes or no? So the takeaway point here is that this you should remember, for all support vectors, this is equals to 0. Okay, so I will just I will try to recall this from this PPT again tomorrow, and then we'll see what is prediction, and then how to calculate B, what is the error function, and then we will just try to discuss this code there, right? support vector machine. So then this is all what we have done. Thank you very much. Drop your attendance.